What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Yugi-Kaiba format video, and we are once again talking about stall mill. But this time it's a bit different than the stall mill that we've been talking about previously. So I mentioned last video that there's a lot of room for experimentation with this deck, so I figured I'd show off a little bit of experimentation that you can do with the deck. Probably the simplest amount of experimentation you can do. Honestly, this isn't really changing the deck that much, but it can make a reasonable difference with how the deck plays. And that change is adding a second card destruction. Now, I've mentioned before that, card destruction honestly doesn't have too much of an impact on the deck. Oftentimes you get into board states where you don't really need it to close out a game. But I thought I would include it here to see how it plays in the deck, and if it decreases consistency, if it can actually increase your chances of winning through potentially a double card destruction, just to see how it plays. I also made a slight change in the side deck where I took out a Soul Exchange and added in a Battle Ox, so I'm also curious to see how that affects things as well. So I brought this deck to a couple duels, and I'm going to share one of them with you today. But first, let's dive into the deck breakdown. So I've covered stall mill a fair amount on the channel, but basic premise of the deck is that you're trying to win through forcing your opponent to deck out. So that way they run out of cards in their deck, they need to draw another, and they can't do it, and they lose. So in order to accomplish this purpose, we have pretty much every 2K defender in the game this far. We have Giant Soldier of Stone, Aqua Matador, Mystical Elf, Spirit of the Harp. We even have Gyakuteno Megami, which is a 2K defender that you can use Soul Exchange or Change of Heart with to remove a monster and then set. We're also playing 3 Wall of Illusion, which is a wall because it has more defense than the monster with the highest attack on a level 4 monster in the format, which is La Jin. And it also can set your opponent back a bit by bouncing a monster to hand. It also pairs well with the double card destructions that we have, just bulking up their hand just a bit more, so that way we can have them draw more cards off the card destruction. And we also have 3 Maneater Bug, and Maneater Bug is great for acting as removal on your opponent's turn. For the spells, we have the double card destruction that I mentioned. It can close out games potentially quicker, it can unbrick your hands a bit maybe, and also it is better in the stall mill mirror match, which if more people start playing this deck, because it is a very good deck in the format, you might encounter more often. So having double card destruction insulates you against those sorts of games. And I do also have a mirror match between stall mill that I'll show off in my next video, where the double card destruction was very nice to have. We also have the Change of Heart and the 2 Soul Exchange, as I mentioned with the Gyakuteno Megamis. These can be used as a form of removal. We have the other limited spell cards, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, all just extremely good. We have 3 Fishers to act as even more removal, and we have 2 Sword of Revealing Light to stall our opponent for 3 turns. For the traps, we have 3 Trap Hole, 2 Waboku. Trap Hole acts as removal on your opponent's turn. Waboku acts as a way to protect your life points and your monsters from being destroyed by battle. And we also have 3 Ultimate Offering, which can be great at bringing out monsters during our opponent's battle phase to dodge their removal. It can brick at 3 copies, but as I've said before, the stall deck doesn't really care as much about bricking, as it's not really trying to progress its game state, it's trying to prevent its opponent from progressing its game state. So honestly, bricks are not the worst in the deck as long as you can establish your board early on enough so that the bricks don't matter. And of course, we have our side deck package into Soul Control. We have 3 Lajin, 3 Battle Ox, 3 Neo, the level 4 beat sticks with the highest attack in the format. We have 3 Summon Skull to pair with our Soul Exchanges and Change of Heart. And we have 3 Reinforcements to give our monsters a boost in battle, potentially get over our opponent's monsters. Now that I've covered the slight changes that I've made to the deck, let's see how this version of stall mill plays. Okay, for this duel we're up against Alan Manzano Official, who I've featured on the channel before. You may know them from the bluff sniping video that I showed off a while ago. They're a pretty good duelist in the format, so this game should be a good one. We are going to do the rock, paper, scissors, and we do win that RPS, so we will choose to go first. And it looks like they're on 40 cards, so it's likely not a mirror match. This is a pretty decent hand, although there are some flaws. The trap hole and the Waboku can be great at insulating us from any big offensive pushes, and the ultimate offering is also nice because it can enable us to set defenders from our hand during our opponent's battle phase. However, we only have one of those defenders, so we won't be able to use this right away. It's still nice to see for later on when we potentially draw into more defenders, but right now it's not really doing much. The Fisher is good for removal, and the Swords is good in case we really desperately need to stall our opponent for a bit. We're just going to set 3 pass. Sure, setting the Spirit of the Harp now sort of plays into their removal if they choose to use removal first turn, but it's unlikely that they're going to, fire off a Raigeki or a Dark Hole just seeing this board set up. And if they fire a Soul Exchange, that's also fine because we do have the Trap Hole. And they can't reinforcements over this thing, so we're feeling pretty good about this play. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox, and we're not going to Trap Hole it because we can defend against it here. They're going to take 3. They'll set 2 pass back to us. And we drew another Waboku, which is nice. It means that if we use this Waboku, we can always just replace it with another. We will Fisher the Battle Ox here. Our reasoning is that if they have a reinforcements and then bring it out of their monster, this would enable them to get in for damage. So we'll just Fisher it away just in case. Pass back to them. They'll bring out a Lodgin, and we will Trap Hole that just in case they have a reinforcements or a Fisher to get through our Spirit of the Harp. And they reveal that they're on Last Will, which is pretty nice. They bring out a Wicked Worm Beast, which will enable them to dodge our removal. And they will Fisher away our Spirit of the Harp, attack in for 14, and pass back. Ooh, they're not passing back to us yet. They're activating Ultimate Offering and actually setting a monster before passing back. So that's pretty decent for them. We don't have any monsters to bring out off of Ultimate Offering, so we're in kind of a rough spot. But we can intuit that that monster is probably a Man-Eater Bug. So actually our Swords activation here is not bad because we can clear their Man-Eater Bug if that is what it is. And also we can buy us time to draw into a defender. So that's what we'll do. We'll activate the Swords. It is a Man-Eater Bug. And we'll pass back to them. They'll pass back to us. And we do draw another defender, which is very nice. We don't need to set it now because there's no real reason to. We've got Swords up, so they can't attack anyways unless they have D-Spell. And we have Ultimate Offering if that is the case. So they're just going to set another pass back to us. We draw another Waboku and pass back to them. Swords expires. And now we'll set a monster. We do have the Wall of Illusion to bring out off of Ultimate Offering in the case that they do have a way to clear this. So we're feeling pretty good about that. They'll set one of their own, pass back to us. It could be a bug. If it's a bug, they can clear our Mystical Elf. And we might not necessarily want to bring out Wall of Illusion because they could bounce the bug back to hand. But, that's a worst case scenario. So we'll just leave it as is. And it turns out it's probably not a bug because they didn't flip it up to attack in. We draw Mystical Elf, which is a very nice draw. It means that if they are going to pull a bug shenanigan to pop our Mystical Elf, we can always bring out the other Mystical Elf and prevent their bug from bouncing back to hand with Wall of Illusion. They're going to set another pass back to us. Gyakuten Megami doesn't really do anything right now because we don't have any soul exchanges or changes of heart. So kind of a bad draw, but this will enable us to piece together the combo for when we need it. They're going to bring out a Lodgin. We're okay with that. They'll flip up Giant Soldier. They'll flip up a Bug, pop our Mystical Elf, try and get in, but we reveal that we have the Ultimate Offering. So we will be able to block their attack. And now we have to think, because if they have a reinforcement set, and that Lodgin can get over our Mystical Elf, then in order to prevent us from taking more damage, we'd have to set the Wall of Illusion. But if we set the Wall of Illusion, this would enable them to get the bug back to hand. So we actually are in a case where we will Waboku this preemptively, just in case they have reinforcements. We have 2 other Waboku on hand, so it's not actually the biggest deal. So we're okay with this, and they will just let that slide. They'll pass back to us, and now we have another defender, so we're feeling fine about it. If they do manage to use reinforcements to get over the Mystical Elf, then we can always bring out the Giant Soldier to block. I think maybe we should have even set the Giant Soldier here, just because if they have a Fissure, this would have insulated us even more. But I think that we're playing around like Raigeki, which is a good thing to do. They'll attack in with the Lodgin. We'll let that slide. And it's revealed that they're not going to use reinforcements here, which is a good sign for us. We draw another Megami, which isn't the best draw. And we are at 7 cards, so we'll just discard this Ultimate Offering, because it's unlikely that they have trap removal in the first game of the match. They're going to draw, they're going to pass, and Card Destruction is a decent draw. They've got a pretty big hand, but we've also got a pretty good hand, so we don't need to use it just yet. We'll just set the Wall of Illusion, pass back to them. They will attack into it, and that will bounce their Lodgin back to hand. Thankfully, they did not switch the Man-Eater Bug to attack in order to get it back to hand. So that's pretty nice. We draw another wall, and we are in the awkward spot where they can always attack into the wall with the Man-Eater Bug and get that back to hand and have another form of removal. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to tribute off the wall and set the Gyakuteno. And this way they can't get the bug back to hand. So I think that's a bit of a clever play. We also have the other Gyakuteno in hand in case we do draw a Soul Exchange or a Change of Heart. So we can still pull off the combo later if we do draw into the other piece. They're just going to Darkhold this board, which is very interesting. And, oh, that explains why they Darkhold. They do have Last Will, and they will chain Ultimate Offering to it to get around Trap Hole. So they are going to bring out Lodgin and Giant Soldier, try and attack in. We will pay 5, and we will set the wall here. We could have set the Giant Soldier of Stone here, but we figure if they've got a reinforcements, it's better they use it on the wall, so that way they won't be able to get back any flip monsters that they could set. I mean, they've used 2 Man-Eater Bugs, so it's unlikely they'll be able to pull off that combo, but it's better safe than sorry. So we are just going to set the wall here. They will attack in, and they will take 50, and it will bounce back to hand. So they still do not have reinforcements. Pass back to us. Fissure ain't a bad draw. We'll just keep it in hand. We could have set it, but there's no real need to yet. They're going to set another monster, pass back to us. We will set the Fissure, because Fissure is easily usable on this board. We can always Fissure away their Giant Soldier of Stone if we need the Spawn Trap card zone. So we'll just set the Fissure. They're going to end turn, discard an Ultimate Offering, pass back to us. Trap Hole is not bad. You know, they do have Ultimate Offering on the field to dodge it, but it's not the worst. We'll set it just in case. Pass back to us. We drew another Gyakuteno, and as I said, Gyakuteno and Soul Exchange can brick, but again, we don't really care about the brick, right? We're in a very good setup right now, so we're doing pretty fine, even though 2 of our cards are useless in hand, basically. We're going to set 1, pass back to us. We draw a Giant Soldier. We discard the Gyakuteno here. I think actually we should have Tribute set over the Wall of Illusion, just to, you know, do what we did earlier in the game. Play around like a bug, you know, getting bounced back to hand. And also playing around Fissure, because this will mean that none of our monsters are face up on the field. So I think we should have actually set the Gyakuteno if we were going to discard it anyways. But I don't think it matters too much in the long run. They will bring out Lodgin, and we could Trap Hole here, but I think we're saving the Trap Hole for later. I think we actually should have Trap Holed here just to open up the Spell and Trap card zone, but we figure it's not that big of a deal. They will Fissure away our wall, and they will try and get in here. It is a Spirit of the Harp, and they will not be able to get over it. So we're feeling pretty good about that. We're just going to set 1, pass back to them. They're going to attack into our new set. It's a Giant Soldier. They'll switch their Giant Soldier to defense, discard a Waboku, pass back to us. And Swords is okay, but we don't really need to stall right now. We will just Change of Heart, taking their set in case it's Maneater that they're saving. It's not, but we will be able to tribute that off for a Gyakuteno. And they will Fisher away our Spirit of the Heart, pass back to us. I think they just wanted to get a spell or trap card out of hand. And with that second card destruction, we actually can win the game right here. And you'll see how. So, first off, we're going to clear up a spell or trap card zone with Fisher. Just so we have the space to set a card destruction to make sure that we have access to it after firing our first card destruction. We're just going to Monster Reborn here. It really doesn't matter. And I actually think we probably shouldn't have done it, because if they have like triple just desserts, then that could give us issue. It's an edge case, but it would be playing a bit safer. I don't think it matters though, because we're going to win the game basically right here. We're going to set the card destruction and activate our other card destruction. We will have to discard 3 and draw 3, but they'll discard 6, and they'll have to draw 6 cards deeper into their deck, leaving them with 7 cards left in deck. We will discard destruction again, and they'll have to discard all 6 of their cards, draw 6 more, and now they're at 1 card left in deck, which means they have 1 turn left to kill us. We'll just Fisher away their Lodgin. It doesn't matter, but we'll do it anyways. And then we'll just pass back to them. And now they have no cards in deck, so this is their last turn to actually kill us. But we've got a Woboku, which means that they can't actually deal any damage to us, even if they have a board clear like Raigeki, which I think they actually do have at this point. I mean, they might have said it. Oh yeah, it was in the last 7 cards of their deck. So the double card destructions did enable us to finish off our opponent a bit earlier than we otherwise would have needed to. You could argue that in this game, it wasn't actually necessary, that we were going to win either way because we had our board state set up, and it doesn't seem like they were running actually any reinforcements in... Oh wait, they do have reinforcements there. But it doesn't seem like they were able to build up an aggressive presence and get in for anywhere near lethal damage. But, you know, who could say? If they had drawn their Raigeki earlier, maybe it would have made things a bit more complicated. This way we were just able to end the game before they could even feasibly mount a resistance to our strategy. So the double card destruction was pretty nice in that game, even if it was potentially unnecessary. And for the siding process, we could keep in a card destruction just to potentially unbrick our hands. But we're going to side into Soul Control and side out of both card destructions, side out of a bunch of defenders, and side out of the Gyakuten Omegamis. So hopefully we'll be able to finally win a game going to Soul Control in Game 2. 44 cards in deck does make the deck a bit less consistent though, even more less consistent than it would be with the standard build that I've been showing off previously. So let's see how it plays. They're just going to set 4 pass, which is pretty good for us. It means that maybe they don't have any monsters they can bring out. So we're going to try and get in for damage. Unfortunately, they have a trap hole to deal with our battle locks, but we're okay with that. We do have a trap hole of our own, so that's pretty nice. They're going to Pot of Greed. Pretty good draw. And they will bring out a Neo. We could have saved the trap hole, tried to get into the Neo with our battle locks using Woboku, but we chose not to. And we'll see how that turns out for us. We're going to bring out a Battle Ox, and we are going to attack in here. They're going to take 17, pass back to us, and they will Soul Exchange, meaning they will be able to bring out a Judge Man. And we've used up our trap hole already, so we won't be able to stop that, which is a bit unfortunate. We draw Lodgin, which is not the best here. We could set the Lodgin to protect our life points a little, but we do have Woboku in case they bring out another monster. And we're okay taking 22 if they just attack in with the Judge Man alone. And they will just attack in with the Judge Man alone. So we'll take 22, pass back. They'll pass back to us. And we draw a Maneater Bug, which is an out. So we will set the Maneater. They'll bring out a Lodgin of their own. And they will try attacking in with the Judge Man. We'll pop the Judge Man because we feasibly do have a way to out the Lodgin if we crash our Lodgin in with Woboku. It's a bit of a risk, but we might as well take it. And we draw Change of Heart, so it's actually not a risk we have to take at all. We can just Change of Heart their Lodgin, attack in, and then summon out Summon Skull, to which they will trap Hole. We'll pass back to them, and maybe we should have fired the Monster Reborn. Nah, we shouldn't have fired the Monster Reborn here, because there's the argument to fire the Monster Reborn in case they have a Monster Reborn of their own and can bring back our Summon Skull. But it's probably better just to save it, because it's way more likely that they have a Fissure or some way to clear our monster than that they have a one-of Monster Reborn. So they're going to bring out a Lodgin, and they will attack in. We will choose to save the Wolboku again. They'll set one, pass back to us, and we draw another Summon Skull. We will Reborn our Summon Skull here. And I think we misplay this. I think we should have brought out our Lodgin first to bait out a Trap Hole potentially, and then Reborn the Summon Skull. If they didn't actually fire the Trap Hole in the Lodgin, then we would be insulated from Fissure, even though we would not be insulated from something like a Dark Hole or Raigeki. But I think we probably should have just taken that risk. We will be able to clear the Lodgin, and we'll set one, pass back to them. They will Fissure away our Summon Skull, so that was the risk here. They had double Fissure and Dark Hole, so it wouldn't have actually mattered either way. But we probably should have played around just in case. And they will Reborn our Summon Skull, so they will be able to potentially get in for lethal if we did not have a Wolboku. Pass back to them, we draw another Lodgin, which means we can feel safe setting one. You know, this way they'll clear our Lodgin, but at least we have a Lodgin in hand to, you know, keep up offensive pressure if we need it. They will attack in with the Summon Skull, and then they'll just set one, pass back to us. We draw Ultimate Offering, which will summon the Lodgin and attack into their set. I think we should have kept the Ultimate Offering in hand, because we didn't consider that this could be a Trap Master, and it is a Trap Master, and if that Trap Master hit our Ultimate Offering, it could have been pretty rough. As is, they're going to snipe the Wolboku, which is already pretty rough, because this removes a potential option for next turn, where we activate Ultimate Offering, tribute out a Summon Skull in the battle phase, and if they try to crash with their Summon Skull, we activate Wolboku. So that's pretty annoying that we lose that, but, you know, it is what it is. I will also say that this continues Alan's streak of just sniping my back row in these games, which I think is a very funny running joke here. And they will attack in to the Lodgin. We will Ultimate Offering here to bring out a Summon Skull, and they reveal that they've got another Fissure, so it wouldn't matter anyways. They set a Trap Master. We'll set a Neo and pass back to them. They'll flip up the Trap Master, clear Ultimate Offering, and then tribute out Judge Man, and that will unfortunately be game 2. So, Soul Control did not work out in game 2. It's unclear whether the 44 cards made a huge difference there. They did have a lot of removal, and they did have access to their Soul Exchange combo pretty early on in the game. So it's uncertain whether the 44 cards made a huge difference or if we were just going to lose that either way. I will note that I've never actually won a game 2 with Stall Mill where I've sided into Soul Control, so the lack of consistency can really be a pain, and it's actually debatable whether you want to side into Soul Control at all or just take the risk, you know, and keep it with the Stall deck. But having the option to side into Soul Control, I think, is a very good thing, because it does keep your opponent from potentially siding in just complete stall hate, siding out their Trap Holes and Wolbokus and everything like that, which could just be useless in a regular Stall Mill game. Anyways, that's game 2, and now we're going on to game 3. So we'll go first here, and this is an okay hand. We've got some defenders, we've got a Wolboku, and we do have the Change of Heart Megami combo, so that's pretty nice. But we would have really wanted to see an Ultimate Offering here or something of that nature. They'll bring out a Lodgin, and they'll attack in to our set. They will not be able to clear it. They'll just set 3, pass back to us. We're just going to set another. This plays around Fissure, and pass back to them. They're going to attack into our new set. It's a Spirit of the Harp. And they're going to set one of their own, pass back to us. We're just going to pass back to them, and they will flip up a Trap Master, correctly sniping the Woboku here, even though we did have a bluff set as well. So we will be forced to prematurely fire the Woboku here, which is not ideal, and they will just pass back to us. We draw another spell, which will set another bluff potentially. They'll bring out some Skull and attack into one of our defenders. So we'll lose that defender. They'll set another pass back to us. Trap Hole comes just a bit too late. We will be able to change of heart their Summon Skull here, attack into their Lodgin, and then we'll be able to tribute set over the Summon Skull for a Gyakuteno. This does play into Dark Hole a bit, but we do have other defenders in hand, and we do have a Trap Hole in case they try bringing out a monster to capitalize on a Dark Hole. They're going to Dark Hole, and they are going to bring out a Battle Ox. We will let that through because we want to save the Trap Hole for like Summon Skulls and things like that. And Swords is not the worst. We'll be able to stall our opponent later potentially. They're going to bring out a Neo, and we could Trap Hole that, but we're going to choose to let it go through. They do have reinforcements, so they will be able to get in with the Neo, which is unfortunate. They're going to set one pass back to us. Fisher is okay, but it's not the best. We will be able to summon out a Summon Skull, attack into their Battle Ox, and then we will just set one and pass. We could use the Fisher here to clear away their last remaining monster. We know they don't have a Dark Hole, but honestly, the only thing we're afraid of is Raigeki, and so I don't really feel the need to do that right now. They're going to attack into our set. It's a wall, and this means that their Fishers will not be able to deal with our Summon Skull, which is very nice. Card Destruction is a decent draw for later, potentially, but we will attack in with Summon Skull, set 2 and pass. And they will bring out a Neo, which we could Trap Hole here. And we will Trap Hole just in case they have like a Raigeki or something. We'll draw, switch the wall to attack, and try and get in for lethal damage. Unfortunately, they still do have their Wobokus in the deck, which is unfortunate because it would have been nice to close out the game there. They will bring out a Neo. We don't have any response to that. And they will Raigeki our board away. They'll attack in with the Neo for 17, pass back to us, and we draw Soul Exchange. They've used up Raigeki and Dark Hole, so we can feel comfortable setting a monster here and having it not just lose to a removal spell. Unless it's Soul Exchange, in which case they can't attack anyways. So we are going to Fisher their monster, and we are just going to set 2 and pass. They're going to set 1 and pass. And we have an Ultimate Offering, which we will just set here. Pass back to them. They're going to set another pass back to us. I think honestly we should have set the Man-Eater Bug last turn, but I think we were afraid that they had a Man-Eater Bug set, and we're going to pop our Man-Eater Bug, so we didn't do that. But I think we could have because they don't have Raigeki, so they can't clear our whole board. And if we lose one Man-Eater Bug to their Man-Eater Bug, it's not the worst. We draw a second Man-Eater Bug, and we will just set it and pass. And I think this is my biggest mistake here. I'm not considering all the possibilities. I'm just keeping in mind that they don't have a Raigeki or Dark Hole, so they can't clear my entire board. But like, if those were 2 Man-Eater Bugs there, then they could clear my entire board. If they have like a Change of Heart and can take my Man-Eater Bug, they can clear my entire board. There are just many ways to clear my entire board here. And I do have the Ultimate Offering to set the Man-Eater Bug as backup, but I think maybe I should have Swords Revealing Light. And maybe this is just a bit too much hindsight being 2020. In the moment, I think it's definitely reasonable to save the swords. They need a very specific combination of cards in order to actually pull this off. But they do have the Trap Master, and they do manage to correctly snipe the Ultimate Offering when I do have 2 other additional sets that it could be. I think that's because Ultimate Offering was the latest set. And maybe I should have just set the Card Destruction alongside it to potentially, muddy the waters, prevent them from having as easy a snipe there. But, nothing we can do about that. They will Man-Eater Bug our Spirit. They will Change of Heart our last Man-Eater Bug. Flip up the Man-Eater Bug, tribute the Summon Skull, and that will be lethal damage. So I think if I had played game 3 a bit better, things could have gone very differently. 3 turns can make a huge difference, and they had depleted themselves of all their mass removal spells. So I think if I had just played more aggressively with my defenders, just setting a bunch more, then I think that this game would have turned out potentially different. But, you can argue that this card destruction that we added to the deck did potentially make the deck less consistent here. What if this card destruction was something else, Would that have made the difference in this game? It's hard to say. They had a pretty commanding board presence here. And we did have swords, but if they had sided in D-spells, then that would be pretty rough. Soul Exchange also doesn't really do anything here, which does play into the whole, soul control aspects of the deck can brick narrative. But it's tough to say. It's especially tough when it's an extra card and not a replaced card in the deck, because if we had replaced a card in the deck with card destruction and then we had drawn the card destruction, then we would have known what we would have originally drawn if we had kept the deck the same. So that's a bit of a tip, like if you're considering swapping things out, that can maybe tell you whether the swap was a good idea or not, potentially. But I do like the double card destructions in the deck. I think it can make a pretty big impact, especially, if the situation arises that arose in game 1, where we just, completely cleared out their deck much, much earlier than we would have otherwise been able to. But it is a matter of taste, and I'm honestly not even sure whether I prefer the double card destruction to just the one card destruction build. I think if you're planning on playing Stall Mill, it's definitely something to experiment with. I think it definitely depends on your preferences, and I think that both sort of versions of the deck are valid. But I wanted to test out the deck either way against a non-Stall Mill deck to show you how it played with the extra card destruction. In my next video, I will be showing off a mirror match with this deck. The 2 Stall Mill decks are different, but it's a wild game, so I'm excited to show it off to you. It definitely is not how I expected a Stall Mill mirror to go. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.